Alright guys, so I'm not going to go super in depth in some of the steps in this because they're quite easy and pretty self-explanatory, and I don't think you need to watch a big montage of me cutting things. What I have here is pretty much all the basic necessities, so to speak, to make this pouch. So my bag ended up being about 14 inches long and right at 9 inches wide. That nothing scientific there, that's just how much fabric I had, so that's what it ended up being. When I sewed it, I just rolled this top edge over and sewed that down with a little double seam, just so it's a nice finished edge up there and nothing will fray. And then I sewed up the sides, and the bottom did not get sewed because I worked with a long rectangles, of fabric, so I just folded that over, sewed up my sides, and I didn't have to sew the bottom. Depending on the fabric you have, if you don't have a long rectangle of fabric, just use two small ones, make your bag that way. I did this on a machine. It can be hand sewn, whatever you need to do, but the bag is pretty self-explanatory. There's about a billion different tutorials out there on how to make these. Quite easy to do. Again, if you've got a machine, they're a breeze to do because I know nothing about sewing, and I'm actually pretty pleased with the way this came out. So that's very, very easy, but again, the dimensions on that are about 9 by 14 or so. The next piece, this is the main compartment, so to speak. Once everything's folded up, this is what will hold everything together on the belt. So this guy is about 2.5 inches wide, and to have it fit my bag, I made it about 12.5 inches long. So 2.5 by 12.5, and that's kind of the main pouch. And this is the belt loop. This is 1 inch wide and a little under 5 inches long. I've got that punched already, and you can see I've got two little spacers that I contact cemented on here. The reason I did that was so that when this is mounted, there's just a lot of space there to get a belt through. You can see the gap that makes. Not a necessity, but it makes putting this on your belt and taking it off a little easier, so just a little step there. So when I was doing this design, I was trying to cut down on the amount of sewing. This can all be sewn together, for sure. I wanted to kind of cut down on that a little bit, so I'm holding mine together with these Chicago screws. See, one side's got a nice little kind of decorative look on there, and the other side is just meant for a flat screwdriver. But ultimately, this is what's going to go through everything and hold this pouch together. So it cuts down on all of the punching and needlework on the leather. So the biggest thing on this that I want to kind of stress is the dimensions are totally flexible. This is just kind of giving you the base idea of how to put this thing together once you get your stuff made. But you want to make your leather pouch, you know, you want it to be the proper size for your canvas pouch, and the belt loop the proper size for the pouch, and et cetera, et cetera. So all of these dimensions are really, really adaptable to your own project. That's why I'm not going through all of showing you how to cut this and all that good stuff. I'm just giving you the basis of how to do this stuff. Cutting the leather, I just used a circle cutter, a straight edge, and my self-healing mat here, and super easy to cut and work down. So it's a no-brainer. Cut it to the size and the dimensions that you want. And then the belt loop, the biggest thing with the belt loop is when your pouch is folded up, you don't want your belt loop to hinder that at all. So make sure your belt loop is long enough or short enough to allow your pouch to close and function properly without this belt loop getting all bent out of whack. So that's something you can eyeball as well. And then once I determined where I want it, I just punched my holes in the belt loop. I laid that down on my leather, marked it, and then I punched those holes. So that all lines up nice and easy. just like that, and these bolts will hold that together. And then with my pouch, I just decided where I wanted that to be in my leather, set it down, got everything lined up, centered up, then I made a mark, and then I punched that. So it goes right on there. These steps will be a little bit different if you're going to sew this together, but again, I wanted to make something that was a little bit easier to piece together and didn't require a bunch of sewing. And then down the road, if my pouch just gets really nasty or gets ripped up or something's wrong with it, it'll be really easy to take this off and replace it, because this is definitely the easiest, to me, the easiest part of all of it is making this little pouch. So I wanted that to be easy to replace. So ultimately, when this is folded up, this is kind of the top half of my pouch. You can see I've just rounded that off a little bit just to make it look a little better. All I did was measure up 1 centimeter, across 1 centimeter, attach those marks, and cut there. So super easy to do and easy to get uniform. So nothing scientific, nothing hard on this at all, especially if you do it this way, held together with the Chicago screws. So these Chicago screws, I do not see any dimensions on these, but these are Weaver leather, so these are made for leather, so they're not super long. You don't need anything super long. Alright guys, to figure out where I need to go from here with my snap, I'm dry fitting this thing together. And just to show you how I've kind of pieced this together, the one end of the Chicago screw goes through the pouch. The other end goes through the back section here, so it's going to go through your belt loop, and then it's going to go into the main pouch, leather pouch. And then from the inside here, I can grab the other end of this screw and just screw that together. So probably not going to take these super tight at the moment, and you can see it gives it a lot of surface area, so I'm not worried about this fabric ripping, because this is really pushing it all down and binding it, and this canvas is really tough stuff anyways. So there we have our belt loop. Belt goes right through here, which I've got a belt. And that is one of the keys. Make sure that this pouch will fit all of your belts, which that fits with a little room to spare, so I can actually go bigger. And that's the basics done right there. So it's a little bit of leather cutting, punching a few holes, a little bit of sewing. Super easy to do. Now that I've got that kind of dry fitted, the next thing you have to figure out is how you're going to fold your pouch when it's not in use. So I found the best for mine was to fold the top down, then fold the canvas pouch up until the Chicago screw stops it, then fold it down again and just kind of split the difference. Then this outside comes in, and this outside comes in, and then this will come up. Top flap will come right down over it, just like so. There we go. And that's what will be on your belt. It's all self-contained, folded up, and out of the way. Alright guys, so when you mark for your snap, make sure that you have everything folded up like it's going to be in its final shape. And now I'm going to just use the snap itself to put a little indentation in here where I want to install it. You can see that little mark there that I've put in there. That's how I'll know where to punch. Okay, so now I'll just come in with my punch, line it up with that mark, punch that out. So that's the spot for my top snap. And I'm just going to do the same thing again. Use that top snap to put another mark in the bottom, so I know where to punch there. So now I'm going to go ahead and punch that hole out as well. To install on this, I'm going to bring in, you can see these come, I'm using just the basic hammer punch style. Comes with this little guy, and then it comes with a little mandrel, I guess, whatever you want to call it. It's got one dome shaped end and one pointy end. The dome shape is for the first half of your snap, which is the finished side that faces out. The top of your snap is going to sit right in that dome. And then make sure you have your leather oriented correctly. We want the front of our snap to be on that front side. That sets right on like that. The other part of your snap sets right down there. And then we're going to line the point up with this little driver right into that. And then we're just going to knock it into place. I like to give it a good hit and really make sure it's set. But you can see what that does is that little chimney shape gets spread out. That's what keeps your snap on there. So there's our snap. This part folds up and the snap comes down like that. So we have to make sure that we have our little cup part on the finished side of the leather so that that can snap into place. So I'm going to go ahead and set this like so. So now we won't use the little dome shape, we'll use the one that has that peg in the center so that that can set down in there like that, your little stovepipe, whatever you want to call it. That's going to go right through the back side of our leather. This sets on top with the little stovepipe in the center, and then that little peg is going to push right down into the center of our little stovepipe. And now we'll pound it into place. Give it a look-see. I'm going to give that just a little bit more. There we go. Now you can see that that's been spread out into place. So now, hopefully, if all went right, we can refold up our little pouch here. Bring in our sides. This should come up. This should come down and snap right into place. And it did. There we go. Alright folks, so the most complex part of this build is installing these snaps, which hopefully you just saw is not hard to do, and sewing your little ditty bag. Trust me, if I can do this, you can do this. It was not hard to do at all. I did use my wife's sewing machine, which I have no knowledge of how to use. I watched a quick YouTube video on how to use it and went from there. So again, the Chicago screws make putting this together quite simple, and later on if you have to change your pouch, it makes that process quite simple as well. So the no sew on this is what makes it pretty nice. You do have to sew your pouch, but sewing and plotting out your marks and, you know, poking through this leather to sew is a lot more labor intensive than sewing this. So that was part of what I wanted to rule out. I wanted a nice super sturdy pouch that didn't require a bunch of sewing back here. Now, alright, so one last thing that I would do personally is I would wax this pouch. We used canvas. You don't have to use canvas. I do recommend that you do because it is very nice, sturdy material. I do advise waxing it. If you're going to use this as a, you know, kind of a gathering bag for tinder and stuff like that, you want it to be fairly water repellent, and we're going to show you how to wax in another video, but it's really quite easy. It's apply wax, heat it into it, That's pretty much it. But we're going to do another video where we'll show you some different mixtures and things that you can do and all of your options there. So I do advise that you wax this. It doesn't change the performance at all. It'll make your bag slightly more rigid, which actually isn't a bad thing, but it's still supple and easy to work with. So this has so many purposes. If you're, you know, a bush crafter or a survivalist or whatever, you know, you've got this on your side and it gives you a bunch of extra storage, and you're not having to stuff stuff in your pack. You're not having to stuff things in your pocket. You can put them in this bag. And again, when you're not using it, the upside is it folds up to that really nice, compact, self-contained little bag, like so. And it's something that, to me, it's not a big deal to have this on my side. And if you're not a bushcrafter or a survivalist or a forager or anything like that, say you go out and dig ginseng, this is a great little pouch to drop your roots in. You know, if you're digging ginseng or golden seal or something like that, it's good for that. If you wax it real nice, you can throw, you know, if you're picking blackberries or something, throw them in there. It's going to stain up your bag, but it's not the end of the world, because this bag will be easy to take off and wash. If you plan on washing it, I don't advise to wax it, so keep that in mind. You can also line this, put another little bag in there, and you won't get it dirty if you're picking berries or something like that. So this does not have to be for just going out and gathering tinder or something like that. It can be for foraging berries, roots, any number of things. If you're going out one day to get a bunch of fat wood, you've got something easy to throw your fat wood. It's right there on your side. So they're super versatile and really easy to make. Again, do as much finish work as you want. I'm going to do a little bit. I'm going to spare you the details on that, because it's really just cleaning up my edges and putting a oil on there, which I rub in, let it soak in, and it's done. So again, we'll go over the waxing of the canvas, but the basic build on this, I tried to show you the most tedious parts. You can find 6 zillion tutorials on how to sew a basic bag if you need that. It's not hard. Again, if I can do it, I guarantee you can. But the final product with the no sew on the leather makes this super easy to make. So hope you enjoyed it. Again, great to make and so handy. So please like and subscribe. We thank you all so much for checking out our videos. There's a lot more to come. We're kind of just getting the page up and going, but there's going to be a lot more content to come. So thank you very much and have a great day.